All right, guys, we are going to start talking about integers, which is a weird word. Let me write it again down here. Integers. It just means any positive or negative number. Okay, so you might already be like, wait, what? So positive numbers are all the numbers you've dealt with so far in math. Okay, let me add positive or negative whole numbers. So when we talk about integers, we're just going to be talking about whole numbers, so no fractions or decimals yet. Okay, so think of any positive number you can think of. In your 5th grade classroom, your teacher may have had a number line on the wall or may have used a number line, and that number line always started at 0. Okay, and a number line goes on infinitely. That's why there's an arrow at the end. So I can make my number line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are all positive numbers. These are positive integers. Now, if I extend my number line going the other way, these are negative numbers. Okay, I always think about negative numbers as money you owe someone, or if you think about like a witch's cauldron and you're adding ingredients to change the temperature. So let's pretend your witch's cauldron, which is just a big pot, right? Let me draw a picture over here and it's steaming, right? And your witch's cauldron is too hot and you want to add ice to it. Your negative numbers would be like ice to bring it down. Okay, so here's how your number line goes on this side. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So notice on our number line, there is symmetry here. So if I move one space to the right, I'm at 1. If I move one space to the left, I'm at -1. And then the pattern continues. It goes like this. Okay? I didn't have room to fit -6 on this one. So what they want us to do on this page is to read each quantity and then describe its opposite, and we're going to use our number line as well. So this is about football, which if you're not a big football fan, that's okay. We need to just focus on these words. If you have a gain of 2 yards, you could think of this as a gain of anything, 2 pounds, $2, 2 pieces of candy. That means you have 2 more. Okay, the opposite of that would be a loss of 2, which would be a -2. A loss of 4 yards, that would mean you lost 4 of something, a -4. The opposite would be a gain of 4. So +4. Now look at how I wrote that. Do we usually write a plus sign in front of a positive number? No, we don't, so you don't have to. When we see a number written just like this, we assume it's positive. We just make that assumption. It's positive unless you tell me otherwise. To tell me otherwise, it would look like this. It would need to have a negative sign in front of it. All right, a loss of 8 yards, that means a -8. So the opposite would be a gain of 8 yards, which we could just write as 8. A gain of 13 yards, that's +13 or just 13. The opposite would be a loss of 13, which would be a -13. A loss of 2 yards, the opposite would be a gain of 2 yards. +2 or just 2. All right, now they want us to model this on the number line. Okay, so let me draw so I have a little bit more space. Here's my number line down here. All I'm going to write on this number line is a 0 in the center, and over here I'm going to go all the way to 20, and over on the other side I'm going to go all the way to -20. Okay, all right, so our first relationship was a gain of 2. That would be this way, +2, and the opposite is a loss of 2, -2. So again, they have that symmetry. And then we could say a loss of 4 a little bit further, and the opposite would be a gain of 4. All right, let's keep looking here. One second. Okay, trying to find the problems I want us to do. All right, let's look at these problems. It says, every week, Tiana runs 3 miles and records how long it takes to complete the run. She also records the change in time from the previous week. Last week, her time spent running decreased by 2 minutes. What integer could represent this change? Well, if it decreased by 2 minutes, that would be a -2. Okay, this week her time spent running increased by 1 minute. What could represent that? We could just write a 1. If it makes you feel better, you can write a +1, a +1. In words, what is the opposite of increased by 1 minute, and what integer would represent that? Well, the opposite of increased would be decreased by 1 minute, and that would be represented by a -1. All right, let's look at these questions. It says, Jose collects baseball cards. Over the last year, the change in the value of his favorite card is -$7. So that means the value of his card has decreased by $7. Which best describes the meaning of this integer? Well, let's see. The card is now worth 7? No. We don't know what it was worth to begin with. The value of the card has now increased by 7? No, that would have been shown as +$7. The value of the card has decreased by 7. That sounds pretty good. All right, the card is now worth -$7. Okay, that would be saying the card is worth nothing, because that means it has less value than 0 if it's negative. So let's just pretend the card originally was worth 50. If it's decreased by 7 in the last year, now it would be worth 43. This would be that if it had decreased a lot more. All right, the temperature this morning measured in degrees Fahrenheit was 8 degrees below 0. This should be familiar to you guys. You live in Idaho. What integer represents the temperature? -8. Think about a thermometer. Okay, it fills up with red, right? If this is 0 and you go outside and check it and it's down here, it's negative. Or if your car just tells you the temperature, you might have seen a negative temperature here. Or if you've been up further north. Match each integer to its opposite. All right, A is at 5, its opposite is -5. B is at 0, that's a trick one. 0 isn't positive or negative, it's nothing. Okay, you can't have positive nothing or negative nothing. If I have no cookies, I don't have +0 cookies or -0 cookies, I just have 0 cookies and I'm sad. Okay, integer C is at 1, so the opposite of that would be -1. And integer D is at -5. 1, 2, 3, I'm sorry, -4. -4. -1, -2, -3, -4. So the opposite of that would just be 4. Which situation could the integer -50 represent? An increase of $50 in a bank account? No. It's negative. The temperature on a warm spring day? No. Again, it's negative. The distance driven on the way to the beach? No. Distance, if you watched the odometer on your parents' car, that's what tracks how many miles your car has. It always increases. A decrease of $50 in the bank account. Yep, that's what happens to me when I go shopping. My bank account decreases. That's -$50. It's no longer there. It's taken out. Which situation can be represented by -8? Choose all that apply. A temperature drop of 8 degrees? Sure. Notice that's kind of like subtraction, isn't it? A depth of 8 meters? That one's also true. They love to use depth with integers. So let's pretend this is water. Okay, so that would be exactly at sea level. So sea level is considered 0. So it's just another way for them to use a number line. Sea level is at 0. So if you're underwater, they consider that negative. If you're above water, they consider that positive. A growth of 8 centimeters. No, if you're growing, you're not getting shorter. That's the opposite. A time 8 years ago. Okay, they don't use the time as much. A loss of 8 pounds, we'll take it. A gain of $8, no. All right, so that's a brief introduction to integers.